Senator Lyle Koenen, thanks for joining us today.
Sure, thank you, Julie.
Senator, you come to the Senate, I think it's fair to say, at a challenging time with just a few weeks to go, assuming May 1st is the date that they plan to adjourn, and also under some challenging circumstances, filling the shoes of longtime Senator Gary Kubly. He passed away earlier this session. But a logical first question is, how is the transition going?
Well, it's going fairly smooth, I think. It's a little odd making that switch from the House to the Senate this late in the session. I was assigned Senator Kubly's committees, and they're done. So at this point, I'm going to caucus meetings and going to floor sessions, and then of course the constituent work. But it's a little odd that way, not being involved in a committee. In the House, I was on the tax committee, and of course that seems to never have a deadline. It just keeps meeting and meeting and meeting, and so in that way there's kind of a difference there. But the transition is going smooth, though. The whole Senate is welcoming, and they did a nice job on the day I took office too. They had a really nice program set up and the reception afterwards, and I thought they did a really nice job with that.
As I mentioned, you are taking the seat of Senator Gary Kubly. Big shoes to fill. First of all, what made you decide to jump in and seek the Senate seat?
Well, it was kind of a series of events that fell into place. With the new district maps coming out, Representative Falk and I ended up in the same House district, so then we were just trying to decide what to do. We didn't want to run against each other, and then after visiting with each other for a while and with people back home, we decided between the two of us and others that Andrew would run for the House and I would run for the Senate. And we made that announcement the day before Senator Kubly went to the hospital, actually. And then, of course, with Senator Kubly's unfortunate passing, there was the question of the special election, and it's one of those things that at that point, it's a busy time of the year, and I wasn't really looking for more work at that point. But I knew Pat and Gary so well, and of course we did quite a bit of talking those first few days that the governor called for the special election, and most of us wanted Pat Kubly to run for the seat. And we were kind of hoping there might be a process to appoint her, but the state constitution and law doesn't allow for that, so there had to be a special election. And Pat decided that at that point in time, and which was understandable, that she didn't want to be involved in an election. And so then there was a question of who was going to run. And Pat and I talked about that at quite a few separate times over a couple of days there, and then between the two of us decided that I would run for that special election.
As you mentioned, you haven't had much of an opportunity to get too engaged in the actual process since moving over to the Senate, but what's your initial impression of the style of the Senate compared with the House, the people, the process?
Well, the first noticeable thing, of course, there's half as many members. So there's, generally speaking, half as many people that would talk well, what I'm familiar with, the floor sessions or in caucus, half as many people that would be talking there. So things move along a little faster for that reason. And it also seems like the senators that get up to speak on issues tend, in my opinion, to stick more to the issues, and there seems to be less politics injected into what they have to say. And so I think that's the first couple of things I noticed right away. And generally speaking, things seem to move along a little faster in the Senate.
So what are your expectations in the future if you are to retain your Senate seat and you're back next year?
Well, I would hope to have some what I consider interesting committee assignments, and in the House I served on a tax committee for 8 years. Of course, I'm a freshman here, so I don't know if I will get that assignment or not, but I'd sure be seeking that. I also would like to, if possible, serve on the Ag Committee. I haven't done that in the House for several years now because the schedule there had taxes and Ag Committee in the same time slot, so it wasn't possible. So that's a couple of things I would like to do right off, is get some what I consider interesting committee assignments.
Any particular pieces of legislation you'd like to move through, if possible?
Well,
unfinished business?
Yeah. The reason I was involved in the tax committee in the House for so many years is because of my interest in the tax system, and that I believe it should be a more progressive tax system. the tax system in the last, well, since I've been here almost 10 years ago, has slowly been getting more and more regressive over time, and I would like to see that trend stopped and possibly reverse and make it a more progressive system, more friendly to working people. Okay,
Senator Koenen, we want to thank you for your perspective. Maybe we'll see you back here next year, but thank you for your time. We certainly appreciate it.
Sure, thank you, Julie.